Picture this. A man stands on a riverbank. He's waiting for water that isn't coming. The night should have risen by now. It hasn't. And in 3 months, his entire civilization will start to starve. This isn't a myth. This actually happened multiple times. And every time, ancient Egypt teetered on the edge of collapse. Because here's the secret nobody tells you about Egypt. It wasn't built by pharaohs. It wasn't built by pyramids. It was built by a river that gave life, and a river that could take it away. Without warning, ancient Greeks had a name for Egypt. They called it the gift of the Nile. They weren't exaggerating. 96% of Egypt is desert. Sand, rock, nothing. But carved through that desert is a green ribbon of life. Just a few miles wide. Everyone lived on it. Everyone depended on it. And once a year, something strange happened. The river rose. Not from rain. Egypt barely gets rain. The water came from monsoons in Ethiopia, 1,000 miles away. Egyptians didn't know that. To them it looked supernatural. Like a god was breathing life back into the land. They called it the flood. And they built their entire calendar around it. 3 seasons. Flooding, growing, harvest. Miss one and you don't just lose a crop. You lose everything. So what happens when the flood doesn't come? We'll get back to that. Because first you need to understand something even stranger. Egyptians didn't build roads. Think about that for a second. An empire, thousands of years old. Pyramids, cities, armies, and almost no roads connecting any of it. Why? Because they didn't need them. The Nile was the road. It flowed north, so anything could flow downstream for free. And the wind mostly blew south, so boats sailed one way and drifted the other. Nature basically installed a 2-way highway for free. Compare that to Rome. Rome built over 250,000 miles of paved roads by hand. Egypt barely needed a shovel. Every village, every temple, every tomb built along the water. Because in Egypt, if you weren't near the Nile, you weren't really in Egypt at all. You were in the desert, and the desert did not forgive mistakes. But a river that gives you everything can just as easily take it back. And around 4,200 years ago, it did. Historians call it the first intermediate period, a time when Egypt's central government collapsed. For decades, the floods came weak, or didn't come at all. Imagine that. Your entire food supply depends on one event. One event controlled by rain falling 1,000 miles away. And it stops. Ancient texts describe rivers of dust, where boats used to sail. Grain stores emptied. Families fighting over what was left. Some texts describe people eating their own children out of desperation. Historians debate how literal that is. But the fear behind it was real. This is the terrifying truth about ancient Egypt. It looked eternal. Temples built to last forever. Pharaohs called living gods. But the whole thing balanced on a single Nile flood. Take away the water, and the eternal civilization was just sand away from disappearing. So how did they fix it? They didn't. Not really. They just got very, very good at using boats. Egyptians didn't just travel the Nile. They engineered around its moods. They built reed boats before they had proper timber. Then wooden boats stitched together with rope, no nails at all. They moved 200-ton stone blocks by river barge. Blocks that would be a nightmare to move by land. Even today. They shipped grain, gold, and soldiers. They even sailed their Pharaohs. Buried right next to the Great Pyramid, archaeologists found a full-sized boat, disassembled, sealed in a pit, built for a king to sail through eternity, which tells you everything. Egyptians didn't just use the river to live. They believed you needed it to die properly too. Compare that to us today. We build cities anywhere. Deserts, mountains, frozen tundra. Pipes, trucks, power grids do the work a river used to do. We've engineered our way out of depending on nature. Egypt never got that luxury. Every single year they gambled their existence on a flood they couldn't predict, couldn't control, and didn't fully understand. And somehow, that gamble built one of the longest-lasting civilizations in human history. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We think of ancient Egypt as permanent. Stone monuments, eternal deities, endless dynasties. But it was never really stable. It was balanced. Balanced on a river that could rise. Or refuse to. Maybe that's the real lesson. The most powerful civilizations in history weren't the ones immune to collapse. They were the ones that learned to bend without breaking. The Nile didn't just build Egypt. It taught it how fragile forever really is. If a river could make or break an empire, what's the one thing your world depends on? Without even realizing it.